Yeah, I had this written a while ago in my notes. It's really fascinating actually because even though sometimes I sound like I'm egotistical or I'm like I may sound like I'm above others when I say things, but I really don't mean it to come off like that. And here's exactly what I have written. I said, I am unremarkably average. And that is very true, right? Like realistically, you couldn't pull me from a crowd, right? So like if I was at I don't know, a concert or something, and you were looking at everybody in the crowd, there would be nothing that was remarkable about me. There's nothing that you could be like, this person is interesting. This person has some sort of character quality about them. Like, you just couldn't do that with me. You couldn't. I wouldn't stand out amongst people. And that's just because that's who I am. Like, I'm not necessarily gifted looks wise or anything like that. But, I also have written here that, like, God does not care for the worldly things, if you want to call them that. The things that, so let me kind of go back here. I am unremarkably average in the worldly sense, and you could not pull me from the crowd. But God does not care too much about the worldly things. And obviously, yes, like he cares about those who are in the world and, his creation and whatnot. But he's not caring about, like, the stupid shit, the pissant shit. You know what I'm saying? The things that are just not even it, right? He doesn't care about how much money you have. He doesn't care about your ability to take down 50 men. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are all things that, I mean, sure, he notices them, but that's not to say that, like, that's not his end goal now, is it? Right? It does not affect salvation, and it does not affect you and him having a relationship at the end of the day. So, this is why it's so fascinating to me, the Christians, that you literally can't pull them from a crowd. Like, you don't really know a Christian until you talk to them. And sure, you can kind of like sense it just because there's like a sixth sense going on. But 9 times out of 10, because like Christians are generally, like the real Christians are generally open about things. Right? We just are. Like, we'll just say what we mean and mean what we say. And sure, there are some of us that are introverts, but like when you start asking questions or whatever, we're not going to withhold things from you, right? If you're looking for knowledge or truth, right? We're not going to withhold you from Jesus Christ. It's just not what we're going to do. But like I was saying, you really can't like physically be like, yeah, this person's a Christian, or like, it's, I often think about those street preachers that go around and just start fucking yelling into a crowd. Like, that's not, that rarely changes people's hearts and minds. I mean, it really doesn't. It doesn't. You really have to have a one-on-one with somebody and kind of meet them where they're at, right? Not where you are. Because you can stand up at a podium and just say shit that they cannot comprehend. They're not going to understand it unless their heart and their mind are both in the right place at the right time. This is actually usually why, this is going to sound a little fucked up, but if somebody dies and I'm consoling somebody else, I'll tell them the truth, right? I'd rather them hear the truth and be like, your grandfather or grandmother or father or mother or sister or brother may have believed the gospel. And if they did, I know where they're at. And I can put my life on that, dude. I can put my life on that because it's not my truth. It's not my truth that they are, in heaven with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not something that I came up with. And, it holds so much weight. It holds so much truth that it is true. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I say the same thing to them about, if their parents didn't believe. Like, I've said this before, I have one parent who does and the other who doesn't. And I would rather these people hear the truth. Because, like, I know when, one of my parents passes away, I'm never going to see him again, right? I'm never going to see my dad again, realistically. Unless he changes his mind and comes to the end of himself. But I already know. I don't want to say I already know, but, like, if he does not believe, I already know I'm never going to see him again. I'm not going to see him again. And for as much damage as he's done to me in my life, that is tragic. That's tragic. But we can't run away from these things, right? So, what I was kind of saying before about meeting people where they're at. You got to tell people the truth, right? Like, if they were like, oh, they were an atheist or whatever, somebody says that their parent was an atheist, I'm like, listen, I hate to tell you this, but they're not in the best place right now. They're not. I hate to tell you this, but they passed away with their sins. And you don't have to do that. You don't. You can be different. I say these things because I care about these people and I love them, right? Because why would I let you walk off the cliff if I have a chance to tell you don't have to, right? I think that's the saddest part, is that people either unknowingly or knowingly step off the cliff or step in front of the train. And I'm using metaphor again and symbolism. They step in front of the train, and it's against my moral code to just let them do that. Like, I'm not going to hold them back from it because it is their choice, but I'm not going to let them go and think that that's their only choice. It's like, it's not. You can be different. You can. And by taking that leap of faith and saying, okay, I'm not going to be able to save myself from death, but I can cling to the one who already has defeated death and sin, instead of just, kind of coasting through life, right? Like, take it by the reins. You know what I'm saying? So, it's so tough because I want to meet people where they're at, right? Like I was saying, right? And tell them the truth, because they have the choice to do something different. They don't have to be like their parents. I'm not like mine. I'm not like really either of my parents. I mean, sure, I'm like my mom in the sense that we both have similar frameworks, but we go about things entirely differently. So, but yeah, I'm very much different, set apart from my dad. We really share no commonalities, maybe besides my disappointment and anger and rage sometimes. And that's part of being human, sadly. But he gets disappointed on shit that doesn't even matter, man. It doesn't even matter. Like, I don't know, a bucket for a tractor, right, gets bent up, and then he's just fucking, cursing the wind. It's like, what's the point of that? What is that going to do? It's not going to do anything. I mean, it's going to be a bitch to try to get straight again, but it is what it is. Whereas I more so get disappointed in the fact that people do not take agency over their lives. They don't. They just have the false assumption that they aren't free. And I always talk about the Fallout games. I think that was the one thing that I sort of learned, because I was playing the Fallout games before I believed the gospel. And that was the one thing that they kind of taught me, was that you really can be free to make the decisions. It's a role-playing game, right? You can be free to make the decisions. And even if you're just one guy or one girl, you have a whole hell of a lot of influence on those around you in your space. And maybe not even in your space. Maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 times removed. So, oh man. I just do not want people to suffer. I don't. That's not... last time I think I said it was Machiavellianism or something. I think what I meant to say was sadism. It's like sadism, where you're sort of taking pleasure in others' suffering. Like, that is not me. I am the exact opposite of that, man. I can't fucking stand it. I can't stand it. So if I can lead somebody to the truth, I would rather do that than just let them be miserable. Because when people are at their lowest, I sort of talked about this with the wiping the slate clean thing. When people are at their lowest, they're willing and open for the most. Like, realistically, I think that was actually something in The Legend of Korra that they had talked about in the last episode of the first season. When you are at your lowest, you are the most open to change. You know how true that is? That's so true. So, yeah, man. Very interesting stuff.